Good evening to one and all, and thank you very much for your patience, as well as thank you for joining us this evening. A very pleasant good evening to one and all. I am Alicia Salmon, the Senior Project Officer at the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries, and I thank you for taking the time out to join us on this Sunday evening as we partner with the Barbados Postal Service to celebrate World Post Day. Now, World Post Day is being celebrated across the world today, October 9th, 2022. And we are pleased to be a part of this celebration. The BCSI is a business support organization that's dedicated to representing the interests of service providers and the services sector. Our members include companies, trade associations, and professional associations. And our four main pillars include education awareness, advocacy and lobbying, export and marketing opportunities, industry standards, and regulations. And today's discussion forms part of our pillar under the education and awareness, where we seek to share knowledge with our members and certainly the broader Barbadian public and the region and certainly the globe as we stream these sessions live on the varying issues. We've had a series on financial literacy. We recently conducted a session on doing business in Guyana, and today we are most pleased to share with you information about the Barbados Postal Service. We really hope that you would be enlightened by the information that we share today. And we certainly ask that you share this information beyond yourself, because I am confident that the information shared today will certainly, some of it will certainly be new and certainly be interesting to you as we seek to ensure that we facilitate business services in Barbados and we enhance certainly our services sector. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce to you Miss Joanne Busby. She is the Postmaster General acting at the Barbados Postal Service, and Mr. Cecil Benjamin, who is the Deputy Postmaster General acting, and they will be leading today's presentation. So without further ado, I welcome Miss Joanne Busby. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And it is a pleasure for the Barbados Postal Service to be sharing with your membership today on World Post Day. As you would have mentioned, on October 9th every year, the Barbados Postal Service joins 192 other postal administrations. Well, we're among the 192 postal administrations around the world that celebrate World Post Day. And it is on this day that member countries of the Universal Postal Union, UPU, recognize its establishment as an organization of the United Nations. And for those who may not be aware, the Universal Postal Union is the international agency that basically regulates and coordinates the work of post offices around the world. Now, I would have shared some slides with, well, some images with Alicia. So I'm going to ask her to pull up the first one, which is our introductory slide, really. And during the course of this presentation, I will take you through some background. I will highlight our services, and then I'll give a brief overview, well, really of our future direction. And Mr. Benjamin is here. He will speak more about the international aspect of what we do, as well as and also highlight some of our services as well. So, to a little about the post office. Our reputation is built on efficiency. We call ourselves effective. We say we're affordable, and we have extensive reach island-wide from 17 postal counters. So we are effective in that we deliver across the length and breadth of this island of 166 square miles. So we say from Bottom Bay, St. Philip to Cove Bay in St. Lucie. We know Barbados best. Every nook and cranny every housing development, every village. Our postmen will find it for you. Now, our mission statement speaks to us being in the communications business. We were here before the advent of faxes, email, WhatsApp, chat, and other social media platforms. And we are still here and we're still relevant, as you will see, even though we may change some aspects of our business over time. Our vision speaks to transformation. And again, as the presentation unfolds, as we talk to you today, you will see how the post office has been transforming itself over time. And for our vision, the words effective and efficient do appear. We have a social responsibility in terms of guaranteeing, thank you, keep that one up. In terms of guaranteeing mail delivery to every resident in Barbados as a signatory to the Universal Service Obligations. This instrument specifies the minimum level of postal service in terms of accessibility, quality of service, and affordability. Now, next slide. In terms of our background, yes, several highlights here from our background. In 1681, there was the appointment of the first postmaster. Barbados was a British colony, and we would have needed to keep in touch with the United Kingdom. And in 1681, the first postmaster was appointed by the governor of the island, and that first postmaster was Mr. Dallison. And his responsibilities at the time included receiving letters from ships and distributing them among the population. So we have actually been facilitating communication for more than 330 years. However, that was mail from outside of Barbados. In 1851, the Act of Parliament was passed to allow mail to be delivered domestically, that is inland. So that's the inland delivery. And the next year, the first post office opened in Lancaster Lane in Bridgetown. And it is 1852 that we actually celebrate as the anniversary of the Inland Post. And this year we celebrated 170 years of inland postal service. The next significant milestone would be 1854, when the Imperial Packet Agency, that's the agency that was in operation since 1681, and essentially they brought the mail to Barbados, that was amalgamated with the Inland Post Office. Over the next 165 years, the Barbados Post Office was at the forefront, believe it or not, of delivering new and relevant services to the people of Barbados, such as the registered mail service, as well as the money order service, and those were introduced in 1861. And actually, the money order service was particularly important for the transfer of foreign currency. That was facilitated through the post office. And during Barbados's peak migratory periods in the early 1900s to Panama, and in the 1950s and 60s, when people left to replace workers lost to England in World War II, many Barbadians went overseas. And they worked for London Transport. Many women left to pursue careers in nursing, and they sent back foreign exchange, foreign currency, to help their families in Barbados, who are not as prosperous as we appear to be today. So the provision of the money order service was particularly significant in Barbados's socioeconomic history. The subsidiary legislation mentioned refers to aspects of operations such as hours of work, licensing of stamp vendors, that means giving other entities permission to sell stamps. There is rental of private letter boxes, what we call PO boxes, and the franking service. And that's a facility for applying postage to mail instead of using stamps. So these are all other aspects of postal business that were implemented here in Barbados many, many years ago, over 100 years ago in most instances. The other significant event in the history of the post office was the signing of the express mail service agreements with the United States and Great Britain, and those occurred in the 1980s. I will mention the express mail service a little later, or at least Mr. Benjamin perhaps will. He has responsibility for that unit. Many of you may not be aware, but the post office actually earns foreign exchange from other postal administrations for delivering mail or postal items locally. That would be parcels and letter mail. And that is revenue into the economy of Barbados. So all of these agreements and arrangements that were put in place over time, they ultimately resulted in the post office earning revenues for the government of Barbados in a way that other social agencies did not. Next slide. Where we'll now look at some of the services. Now, how many people knew that there were this many services that the post office offered? Most people think of us as an entity for purchasing stamps. But as you've already seen, by 1984, a number of different services have been rolled out over the years. So these are some of our services, and there are actually more than these. Direct mail is one of them, and it is a solution for the targeted distribution of flyers, brochures, catalogs, and samples. We permit companies to use advertising messages for their products or services on envelopes, as that spreads their message even further than the intended recipient of the mail, because everyone that handles the mail then sees that message. With Post Express Couriers, which was recently rebranded, that powers our e-commerce facilitation, in that we can deliver e-commerce items around the island. Products can also be shipped overseas using our parcel or express mail services. Companies and individuals can rent a PO box, post office box, and have access to the latest sorted mail any time of day. There is a facility for the redirection of mail so that when someone moves to a new location, the receipt of their mail is not disrupted. Without a redirection notice, mail is returned as addressed, and the redirection notice is valid for 6 months. There's the Philatelic Bureau, which is responsible for the production, marketing, and sale of commemorative stamps. We have commemorative stamps. These are usually sought after by stamp collectors and philatelists. And then the other type of stamps used for mailing purposes, these are known as definitives, and they're in circulation for 5 years. So the Philatelic Bureau produces both the commemorative and the definitive stamps. There is PostPay, and that allows customers to make payment to utility companies. That's light, water, natural gas, telephone, Digicel, MCTV. Persons can now pay their BART memberships. Not sure how many of your membership actually qualify to be BART members, but BART membership can be paid at post offices as well. Persons can also pay for their police certificate of character and their liquor license. And we also receive payments on behalf of the Student Revolving Loan Fund and Trinity Academy. That's a private school. Well, infants and primary school. And the accounts for all of these services, they're updated the same day. So there's actually no delay with the company, the agency that we're representing, receiving your information up to date on the day in which payment is received. We also cash government pensions, welfare grants, and national insurance benefit checks. And our counter management system is currently powered by Swift Retail, and that's a secure, state-of-the-art and convenient solution for the collecting and remitting of payment information to our clients electronically. The technology is developed in Malta by Ascent, and it's specifically for post offices. It is currently, however, under review. The benefits of this kind of system include the issuing of receipts to customers for all transactions. Swift Retail enables configuration to import client data from the customer's database, Client account number, client name, client balance can be flagged if to accept check payments. That's an optional service. The ability to provide automatic electronic export of partial payment files to customers at a mutually agreed frequency, that it could be multiple times per day or just once a day, that the file would contain the client account number, the client name, the client payment amount, whether it's cash or check. And it also provides the automatic electronic export of full payment file at the end of the day. And that's usually at about 6 or 7 p.m. And then there are daily transaction reports for balancing and audit purposes. And that information is customized to the client's requirements. And we're always in discussion with some other government agencies to receive payments on their behalf. The Express Mail Service previously mentioned, that's an EMS, you'll see the logo there, is the International Courier Service Network offered by post offices around the world. And as part of this network, the Barbados Postal Service benefited from various management tools that would be in place. So essentially, once the EMS branding is seen in the other jurisdictions, it is supposed to be handled properly. And then there's, of course, the BPS Business Center, where we provide assistance, online assistance with the completion of visas to the United States, appointments for Barbados passports. Persons can print reports, they can copy legal documents and that kind of thing. So there's a copying service, there's a printing service. Persons can access their email or whatever if for some reason they do not have a computer or even a printing facility at home. They can go to their email and they can do their printing at the post office, well, the business center. And that's located on the ground floor next to the ATM machine. And then one of the important recent developments in the postal sector is the use of a customs declaration system. It's a customs declaration management system. Mr. Benjamin can articulate more on this, and it's for post and customs. So it's used to process declarations for goods entering and leaving certain jurisdictions. It's through ports, airports, with complete customs information submitted electronically. Excuse me. And the United States Postal Service has actually requested that all shipments of parcels and letter packets to the United States be issued through the CDS, the Customs Declaration System. So for entities that may be interested in e-commerce, that is information that they would need to know. So we are actively exploiting our IT platform to facilitate various government services, payments, to receive payments on their behalf, given that we have a post office in at least each parish, and more than one in the parishes of St. Michael and Christchurch. And ultimately, our hope is to be the provider of choice for receiving all of government's payments. So to conclude my aspect of the presentation, you can move on to the next slide, actually, or the next image. We do know Barbados best. The Barbados Postal Service has been at the forefront of innovating new services. And for those who do not know, or who may think we are a dinosaur, I hope that this presentation has served to inform you of what we do. We have to stay current with whatever postal technologies are employed in the rest of the world. So the Universal Postal Union will work with small postal administrations such as ours on various projects to ensure that lesser developed postal infrastructure is upgraded from time to time. And over the years, we at the Barbados Postal Service would have benefited from various aspects of technical assistance offered by the Universal Postal Union for various services. So I conclude that aspect of the presentation. I hope it's been informative. And Mr. Benjamin now can speak about Barbados Postal Service and our role in international postal affairs in the Universal Postal Union, and any other insight you would like to share about our various services.
Good evening, and thank you very much, Joanne, for that introduction. I think I will tailor my presentation this evening to providing some insight on the customs declaration system. As Ms. Busby would have indicated, this became mandatory for sending all postal items to the United States which contain goods from the 1st of January 2021. They, however, granted us an exception. And so we were only required initially to submit the CDS declarations for the express mail items initially. However, it is now mandatory for all mail items containing goods. This requirement for submitting the customs declaration information will also become mandatory for all EU countries and Great Britain from the 1st of January 2023. And essentially what the customs declaration system is, it is the provision of an electronic means to supply advanced electronic data to the destination post, the destination customs, and the transportation carriers. For Barbados, the primary transport mechanism is by air. So we would exchange this information with the airlines. In other countries, they have ground transport, including trucks, rail. You have ocean-going vessels. But right now in the Caribbean, transportation happens to be a major challenge. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we lost quite a bit of our transportation, the transportation that we were accustomed to as airlines ceased or ceased flying worldwide. What most people do not know is that the UPU mail travels by commercial passenger airlines. And based on that, there are limitations placed on the items that can be shipped via the post. Some are imposed by the destination country. And then there are others that are imposed by the actual airline industry. And so by sharing in advance of presenting items for mailing to the airlines, we send them an electronic file that would indicate the contents of all of the items. This assists the airlines with their airline security protocols. And a collaborative effort was had between the World Customs Organization, Universal Postal Union, ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Authority, and IATA to ensure that our systems are interconnected. So for example, if a person presents an item at, for example, the St. James Post Office to be mailed to the United States, there are certain pieces of information that would be required for customs purposes that will be sent electronically to the designated operator. That's what we call post offices internationally, of the USPS, United States Postal Service. The first piece of information that is sent is the unique identifier. This is a standard alphanumeric 13-character barcode that is used worldwide, with the first two letters being the service indicator. It indicates to the postal staff the class of service. For example, anything starting with for example, the letter E is usually express. Anything starting with a C, usually CP, would be parcels, based on the French word for parcels. If it starts with an R, it would be registered mail service. If it starts with a U, that would be the letter packet. And it will always end with a 2-letter code that identifies the posting country. So all items containing barcodes generated in Barbados will always have BB at the end. And it then has a 9-digit number between the prefix and the suffix, which comprises of an 8-digit number plus a check digit. And this is called the S10 barcode. And as of the 1st of January, 2018, all postal items containing goods must have a barcode affixed. I'll say that again. All postal items containing goods must have a barcode affixed. And all items that have a barcode affix are now required to have the CDS information entered. So if you were posting, for example, a pen and pencil set to your godchild in another country, you would have to declare the contents using the CDS system. The Universal Postal Union has made it relatively easy for customers of the post to be able to comply with this CDS requirement by providing a number of methods for having this information added. The officers of the post can enter the information directly into the CDS database themselves. But then there are 2 other options provided. One is a mobile app, which is available both on the Apple and Google Play stores, that you can download to your phone, and you can, prior to coming to the post office, complete the customs declaration. There is also what they refer to as the CDS kiosk, where you can use your computer to access the web page and complete the same information. The Barbados Postal Service is currently in the process of placing computers at each of our district post offices, and actually at each of our counters, that would allow customers to save time to enter the information, if they had not done so prior to coming to the post office, at the office before proceeding to the counter, thereby reducing the time taken to have the transaction performed at our counter. This information is required for all. And of interest to your organizations would be the process for mailing items. And I would always advocate, if your business is interested in using the services of the Barbados Postal Service to have your items mailed, contact our marketing department, where we can have a one-on-one discussion to see how best we can accommodate your business. Because generally speaking, all items must be presented to the post office. All items containing goods must be presented to the post office counters opened, so that we can conduct the Mark 1 eyeball test, where our trained officers will inspect the contents of your package to ensure that they meet all of the requirements for international mailings. Any items that cannot be mailed, whether it is based on a prohibition by either the airlines or the designated operator of the destination country, will be flagged and you would be required to remove it. However, if we enter into a business arrangement, we can have companies deliver their items already sealed, and using either the CDS kiosk or the mobile app, they can complete all of the relevant customs declarations. And one point I forgot to make is, when you complete your customs declaration, the system will issue you with a temporary barcode. When you present your item to the counter, our clerks will be able to access the information you entered previous to coming to the counter, and then they will affix the UPU standard barcode, that the S10 barcode I would previously have mentioned. And this will surely speed up your transaction. We offer letter mail service, parcel service, and express mail service to all 192 member countries of the UPU. However, being Caribbean residents, we are aware of the challenges currently being faced with regional transportation methods. And so at this point, there are actually some Caribbean destinations that we are unable to get mail to in a timely manner. To counteract this phenomenon, the Universal Postal Union is currently engaged in a regional transportation project where they have reached out to each of the airlines operating both commercial passenger aircraft and commercial cargo airlines to find a long-lasting solution to the issues of transportation within the region. They are also exploring the possibility of reintroducing the movement of mail by sea. And these initiatives will be coordinated primarily from the Universal Postal Union. The airlines will sign agreements with the Universal Postal Union, and then the members of the Caribbean Postal Union, all of the post offices in the region, will then be able to benefit from that cooperative arrangement. I've said quite a mouthful, and so now I am, and Ms. Busby, we are open to any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Cecil. So are there any questions with regard to the work of the post office or any of our services?
Thank you so very much. And yes, we do have some questions here. I really want to first thank you, Ms. Busby and Mr. Benjamin, for what I would term a very enlightening and certainly very informative presentation. I certainly did not know that the Postal Service offered such a wide array of services, and I am sure that persons, even those who are now entering, would be very pleased to hear about the array of services and certainly how they can maximize on them. But before we go back to your presentation, Ms. Busby, there's some questions here from Mr. Benjamin regarding the CDS and then what he would have just shared pertaining to the transportation issues, as we are certainly very cognizant beyond just transportation issues with meal, they're just general logistical and transportation issues the world over. But we wanted to find out, I know you said, Mr. Benjamin, that UPU is working on a regional transportation project. And there's a question here, if you could share some of the suggestions that are maybe involved, if you know, in the project to combat the transportation issue, as well as what are the regional countries that you are having challenges delivering mail to.
Okay, let's start in terms of what the initiative is about. The Regional Transportation Project is a joint project with the CARICOM Secretariat, which is based in Georgetown. And they have been having a series of meetings between the Universal Postal Union, the CARICOM Secretariat, and all of the airlines that currently service, all of the regional airlines that service the region. And the aim of this project is to ensure that we can have multiple options for sending mail between our member countries in the region. Currently, the Caribbean Postal Union comprises of 28 member countries. So it has all of the CARICOM countries: Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, Aruba, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Bermuda, the British Virgin Islands, the Caribbean part of the Netherlands, which would be Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Saba, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Grenada, Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Kitts Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Suriname, Trinidad, Turks and Caicos. And then we also have, as our members, Canada, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the United States of America and the Netherlands, due to their having territories in the region. What this transportation project at its core is trying to do is to ensure that we can get reasonable service between all of the countries I would have just listed. And just to give you an example of one country that we are having challenges with, as strange as it may seem, we are having challenges with getting mail to St. Lucia. Because we transport mail by commercial passenger aircraft, our routing is very challenging. And at the moment, it is only the larger airlines that service the region that carry mail. And so sometimes we have to do some ingenious routings in order to get our mail transported. So for St. Lucia, we actually have to send the mail to Trinidad. And then it goes up from Trinidad to St. Lucia because we no longer have adequate airlift with our direct flights. I hope I was able to respond to that query. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive response, and certainly, again, very interesting. We do hope that as the governments and as CARICOM recognizes the transportation issue, that we certainly will have some sound and sustainable solutions going forward. Another question here is, we want the person asking the question, wants for you, Mr. Benjamin, again, to share with us some of the requirements for international mailing. So in your presentation, you mentioned that you need to meet the requirements when you mentioned that you have to present, if you are sending goods through the mail, you have to present with the goods open and meet the international requirements. So what are those international requirements?
That is a very difficult question to answer, even though it seems quite easy on the surface, because the requirements are actually governed by the laws or the requirements of the destination country. But generally, items containing goods, we have a list of restricted items, and we have lists of prohibited items. One item that is quite topical these days is lithium batteries. Most airlines do not allow for the transport of lithium batteries as cargo or in their cargo holds. So whereas you may be able to take your laptop on board, you cannot send a laptop with the battery through the post. A full list of the prohibitions can be found on the Universal Postal Union's website, upu.int, and links to the UPU website are available on the Barbados Postal Service website, which is bps.bb. bps.bb. But in general, if you are mailing any item, the packaging that you use should be sturdy enough to protect the item from breakage or from spillage. And another recent prohibition is the mailing of bottles. Most airlines that fly out of Barbados are now prohibiting the mailing of items in bottles, and they do not specify whether that is glass bottles or plastic bottles. So if any of your members are, for example, hot sauce producers, they would need to have a conversation with us to see what routings we could possibly put in place to accommodate their particular product. And that is why I would have indicated for your members, if there is an item that you, whether it's the one-off or it would be a regular posting, contact our marketing department, and our officers there will be only too happy to assist. They will do the research and they will get back to you in a timely manner. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin. Two more questions for you before we go on to Ms. Busby. And they are, you mentioned the mobile app. If you could just give the name of the mobile app, and also where can you find the customs declaration form? It's a two-part question. Where can you find it? And is it easy to complete?
Okay. I'm trying to find it here on my telephone as we speak, but what this custom declaration system does is it provides a method for all persons who are sending items to complete the customs requirements, either using the computer or using your mobile app. And that app actually generates the customs form. So there's no second customs form for you to fill out. And if you just go to either the Google Play Store or the iPhone Store, you would type in UPU EAD app. EAD, Electronic Advanced Data. That is the name of the app. EAD Customs, Electronic Advanced Data. And it is quite easy. It has a series of screens, and essentially, the first thing you need to fill out would be your information as the sender, the information for the addressee, and then you are required to list the contents and supply the tariff, HS tariff code. But the app, once you type the description, the app will assist you to select the correct tariff code. You're required to indicate the value of the items. So gone are the days when you can send a package to your friends and say it contains clothing. You now have to say it has 2 t-shirts and 1 pair of jeans. And this information, when entered into the Universal Postal Union's system, due to our integration with the World Customs Organization's systems, will pass that data automatically to all to the relevant customs once they are using the Asecuda World system. So the customs officers have the option of either logging into the post office's customs declaration system, or they can view the data within their system, which they are accustomed to be using. And this will also feed into the electronic single window. The interface will be through, for post, will be through the use of the UPU system. There will be some other requirements. For example, if you need to get, if you mail seeds, you need to have an inspection done by the Ministry of Agriculture. The electronic single window would still be used for those items. But by and large, once you download the app on your phone, you just fill it out. They'll give you a temporary number. You just jot it down on pencil, on a piece of paper, bring the number along with the package, and the mailings can be facilitated. At least I hope that answers the question completely.
It certainly does. Thank you so very much. And just finally, could you tell us again the mandatory requirement for the CDS? When does that commence? One more time.
The CDS requirement for the United States of America came into effect on the 1st of January 2021, which was last year. But due to COVID and the loss of the majority of our air transport links, the number of items we were able to send were greatly reduced. So the staff at the post office actually completed those declarations on behalf of the customers for the express mail items. But the United States Postal Service, as recently as August, there was a EAD workshop in August, and they reminded all of the Caribbean countries that their requirement is now fully in effect. So it is currently in effect for the United States. And for the European Union countries and Great Britain, it will come into effect on the 1st of January 2023. So the 1st of January next year, anything going to Europe and Great Britain, it will be also mandatory.
Thank you very much. I think that's certainly important information for our listening audience and certainly those who will be hearing this recording after to note. So thank you so very much, Mr. Benjamin, for your comprehensive response as well as your comprehensive presentation. Now, Ms. Busby, I'm very sorry about that. Ms. Busby, in your presentation, you mentioned that the Postal Service conducts Post Express and Courier service. Could you elaborate on what those are, please?
Yes, my apologies. I was still muted. Okay, the Post Express Couriers, that's the local arm of our express mail service. So we normally deliver passports on behalf of immigration. So when the process is completed, persons will pay a fee and we will deliver the passports to them. It is a service for which a signature is required. And it is also the service that we are looking to use for local e-commerce, as we're looking to work more closely with small, medium, and micro enterprises. So basically, the company can contact us. The contact is actually the marketing department, and their contact number is 535-3955 for the marketing officer, 56 for the research assistant. But basically, those are the numbers for the marketing department. So for more information, persons can call those numbers. We are also in discussions with the QEH pharmacy to effect the delivery of renewed prescriptions. So if a prescription needs to be refilled, it is anticipated that the patient, when they contact the QEH pharmacy, they can now choose the post office. We do have wireless mobile machines that can accept debit card payments. So as we continue to work with entities, we will be able to facilitate the use of the debit card for delivery of their items from a supplier. And then the EMS, which is the International Express. And these are all services for which a signature is required. With the EMS, that is a service for shipments out of Barbados. We also have a DHL co-branded service, which has somewhat faster and guaranteed turnaround times. It costs a little more, but the delivery is guaranteed by a certain time. Whereas, as Mr. Benjamin would have indicated, we depend on passenger aircraft for the conveyance of mail. So sometimes there are challenges. Because obviously if the focus is on passengers, then the luggage has to be carried. And that can reduce the capacity for airlift for mail. And sometimes we do get queries from persons wondering why an item is taking so very long. That could be one of the issues. Although it has been mailed, we're waiting for airlift to get it out of the island. I'm not sure if that provides an answer to the question.
Yes. Yes, well, I hope it does to our listening audience. So certainly, thank you. And certainly you mentioned something in your response that I think is pleasing to the audience's ears, as I know we do have an aging population who certainly require or who rely on renewing their prescriptions with the QE8. And I'm sure that this would be a welcomed addition to your list of services, as well as sharing the information with the public. They could actually use the postal service to get their medication refilled. So I am very happy to hear that, and that we were able to share that bit of information. And also the delivery of passports. So I also think that's very interesting, and certainly, again, a welcomed service, because I think what's important is that at every aspect and every element of Barbados, we are seeking to enhance and to make doing business easy. And certainly services that you offer facilitate such. You mentioned something to me in our private discussions that I want you to share with our listening public today. And that is the account where persons can pay or fund their loved ones who are incarcerated. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I wish for you to elaborate and explain on that further. Thank you.
Oh, yes, sure. Essentially, we provide a service whereby persons who have relatives who are incarcerated, they can come into any post office anywhere across the island and pay in a specific sum that is paid to an account that is held for that inmate in prison service. So yes, that is a relatively new service that we offer. And basically the funds are used for the purchase of snacks or some other little things that they may need. I guess if they're about to be released as well, whatever has been accumulated will also prove useful. But yes, persons with relatives who are incarcerated, they can make a payment to their account in the name of the person at any post office. Mr. Benjamin, you want to share a little more about how that system works? Because remember, Mr. Benjamin is our deputy with responsibility for all of our business development. So our services, Mr. Benjamin is the man to talk to.
I thank you for that. Just to provide a little clarity, in terms of the prison, the service we offer for the Barbados Prison Service, persons can make deposits towards they call it, we would refer to it as their canteen account, which would be to buy the snacks, and also for them to make telephone calls. So there are two different classes of payments that we accept on behalf of the prison. And at that time, I will take this opportunity to also extend to your members, if your membership requires an organization like the post office with the 17 locations across the island to collect payments on their behalf, they can contact the marketing department and we will have a conversation on how this can be facilitated. Ms. Busby would have indicated earlier that we send electronically the transaction to each of our third-party agencies on a daily basis. And then based on how the arrangement is done, you will then be provided with the actual funds within 2 working days. So we do provide that facility. We're doing it for schools. We're doing it for the Student Revolving Loan Fund, all the utility companies, all of the natural gas corporation, the Barbados Water Authority. We're doing it for some private schools. So that is something, if that is something that you would wish to have, 17 locations where your customers can pay in money for you, we will be only too happy to offer that service to you.
Thank you so very much for that offer. And certainly that is a conversation that we will be very happy to have after this discussion. So thank you so much. And certainly thank you for providing this such great depth of knowledge on the Postal Service, your services that you offer. I don't know if there are any additional questions at this time. Okay, I don't see any further questions. So I really do want to thank you, Ms. Busby and Mr. Benjamin, for sharing with us today on this World Post Day about the incredible work that the Barbados Postal Service is doing. And I feel like it is one of Barbados's best kept secrets. And certainly at the BCSI, we wanted to expose some of this information to let Barbadians know that you are here, you have the business development arm, and you're certainly doing a fantastic job with the services that you provide beyond our providing stamps and beyond our very friendly postmen and postwomen that we see in our communities. There's so much more that could be offered, and certainly so much more that could be done as we seek to facilitate trade and to create a better business environment on island and certainly beyond. Because I'm cognizant that you do provide services regionally as well as internationally. So I think that today's conversation was certainly the beginning of what I hope will be more business for the Postal Service. And I certainly hope that the listening public, as well as those who will hear this recording after, will certainly gain a lot from what was shared. We thank you for taking time, those who attended today's session. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday evening to come and share with us. We really do want to congratulate the Postal Service for their work and certainly say Happy World Post Day. And I do want with that to wish you all a fantastic evening. Again, thank you for joining. Thank you to our wonderful presenters, and I wish you all a beautiful week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Very much. Thank you for having us. All the best.